night, so it's ready to go in the morning. And then I
Well,
think I
that's where I
cut
see
Brian
that
off,
the
so I'll let
garage
him go
area,
back to it.
where I see the garage area as being an extension of that community room with the steps that go from the garage up to the community room. So, you know, my thoughts, like I had said, with the mechanicals already being in the in that garage area, you know, you could have a refrigerator sink down in that area that could be used up in the big community room.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think there's a whole kitchen down there, isn't there? Or a kitchenette
well,
kind
yeah,
of,
yeah.
right? So yeah, that could definitely be because, you know, current use, they're in years that are not plagued by, you know, pandemic, there's 4 children's parties a year that it would be great to be able to have food preparation happen in there. It would be great to have, you know, all those means to prepare and serve something more than prepackaged sweets out of that space.
And if we had a decent space, I'm sure there would be more events being held there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, as it is now, I've set up and decorated for many a holiday MPCA event, and I'm always just embarrassed.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife will invite my brother and his kids to come down because, oh, it's going to be pretty. And I'm like, I don't know if I want my family to see this room that we're having this in.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we hadn't remodeled the EMS area before. I didn't realize how horrible that place looked. But you know, the other thing that I had thought about is, and this isn't something that I would, you know, want in the original plan, but to be able in the future to maybe extend a deck out the back. You know, my vision is that the community room gets expanded to the west, because you've got the, you know, the roof line there already that comes to a point, and, you know, it's easier to go that way. And then, and not necessarily do this now, but we could in the future add a deck onto the back, which would create some, you know, space below for, you know, maintenance storage. And, you know, those are really my hopes for the community areas.
Tony, you've talked a little bit about how these rooms would kind of engage the outside and the exterior spaces. I guess, how does everybody see the outside being developed, that we'll call it the backyard with the pond back there, and the connectivity of these spaces to the outside? Do you see that something as being an important factor?
Are you talking about like redesigning the exterior, like a stone type of thing? Is that where?
I guess I'm more thinking of like there's certainly possibilities for these things, but kind of like what's the vision for how you see the outside being used for these spaces?
I don't want to talk for Tony, but hearing what he's saying, I think that's what he's saying the deck would be.
Yeah.
Well, then the area outside of
the lake, open up, you know, allow openings from that thing to go out to that second floor deck off the back as expanded summer space. And that way you're off the ground, because I'm sure that backyard floods a lot in the spring, with it being right there by the lake and as low as it is. So you're off the ground and not worried about wet grass or flooding. Is that sort of what you were thinking, Tony?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at that whole area that would be the east side of the building, and then the south side of the building kind of being worked together as an exterior activities area. You know, we have carriage rides we've had carriage rides that they put, and we've got the fire pit out there, you know, the fireplace in that room, going back out towards the lakes. I see that as, you know, an outside activities area. Maybe even getting rid of the parking. Well, that's another thing. I like to see the parking lot, maybe, I wouldn't say eliminated, but maybe getting rid of the parking, the blacktop up to the entrance into the garage, you know, possibly. I don't, you know, I'd like, you know, also like to see the parking lot for the police on the west side of the building, and making that where the police come in and out. That's, I don't know what else to say. If I said too much.
No,
No, that's
just
great.
processing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we want to hear at this level. So that's really helpful.
Well, that's why I was very eager to be here, because I don't think that these ideas had been expressed to the past architects.
Tony, this is just a really quick question for you. If we did that, where do you envision, and actually not just Tony, but for the three of you, what would you guys do with maintenance? Because we did talk about maintenance a little bit. And, I know that we had talked about potentially putting a garage down at the pool or maybe out front. And, we were tossing around little things. But what's your vision as far as what would we do with all of our maintenance equipment if we use the downstairs room as a community room? Clearly, our shed is not big enough. What are your visions for that?
Somewhere else, like by the pool.
Okay, so you would, so this doesn't necessarily need to be part of this project at all, or would you like them to have a design for that somewhere, just for pricing purposes, if we're going to have it bid at the same time?
I would not worry. Here's my, being in the, I am so, I have a bad taste in my mouth about prevailing wage projects. And I am big into I wouldn't say breaking it down into different sections. Like we could do a whole maintenance area in another part of the community and it wouldn't hit the prevailing wage requirements. So that's one of my objectives too, is to try to break this down into things that we could do in the future that don't have to be there at that building.
So just doing like a basic structure.
Maintenance would be one of them.
Like
I'd like to see the maintenance, everything to do with maintenance away from that building and over by the pool. We haven't talked in this in that much depth about this topic yet, but this is my vision.
Mark and Brian, can you guys kind of say anything about that? Again, I'm just trying to give them as many perspectives of the things that we really didn't talk about in depth.
If we could double the size of that current community center and add a deck to it, I would say that is plenty big enough for our needs, and the garage could become the new maintenance headquarters. It would be my thoughts. I would also say I believe in the original plans that we're kind of half basing on. I realize those plans were absolute garbage and little more than an artist's sketch of what a building looks like. But when we first had them, there was the idea of a separate EMS facility. And so depending on whether doing I doubt doing a separate EMS facility is going to be any way cheaper than refurbishing the current one to be a maintenance hangar, shed, workspace.
Did you just hear?
Just making the, and I actually don't I understand Tony's idea, but if I'm going to be hosting something, I don't want to be like, okay, guys, we're up here. Oh, and you can also go down that flight of stairs down there into that other room. And I've been to places no one ever then goes to that other room.
I have to strongly disagree with Mark's interpretation of going down into that room. And that's where the fireplace is at. You want to have a fireplace in the middle of the maintenance department?
No, I don't want a fireplace at all. We should plug that up and get rid of it. Just cause for hassle and trouble.
Let's wait for that to go to a vote. Because
Ted, are there any issues with the ADA compliance with the change?
Well, and that is one of the big factors in reusing this building is addressing the grade. So, I think that's something as we kind of work through the design, if we're looking at utilizing that bay and how how it can connect accessibly to the other levels, and depending on where we put functions and how we put functions in the building, whether it needs to accessibly connect or not. So I think that's kind of a design challenge for us to tackle, and kind of where we're, just to outline for everybody here, the process that we're going through. This is really the first step, and we've seen all the other plans. We're trying to push them aside a little bit to take a fresh approach, and the EMS not being a factor anymore is a big piece of that as well. But we'll take these interviews and we'll collect our notes, and then really next week, we'll put together a spreadsheet document that lists out what the rooms are, that, what the spaces are that we think have come from these interviews, and all the features about them, how they need to connect, how you enter them, whether they need separate entrances, how they connect with the outdoor space and that sort of thing. And then we'll get that back to the village team to kind of review and refine. So before we even get into the design, we'll have this idea of what these spaces are that you need and what considerations we need to take into designing them. So that's why all the information we're getting from this is really helpful. This is great.
You can see where the lines are being drawn.
All right. Does anybody have, and I don't want to keep them on here. I knew that some council people wanted to make sure that they felt as if, residents were kind of heard as far, the main room. These are all council members as well as residents. And I know that they've been involved for months, years, in talking about this. So I thought if we could just kind of throw a little bit more of just a little bit more information of, what's important to some of the residents. I know we kind of talked about that a little bit, how important, this structure is for some people. So I think it's important to at least have a couple more things to make it even muddier. There you go. I'm just kidding. I mean, again, I know that you guys will take the information and, you can't accommodate everything. And I realize that, but, just getting some different perspectives of how big that room should be, or, all of that. I guess I personally wanted to hear from Tony, Brian, any of council, because I personally, I was a little nervous about, the 1,200 square feet. I know that was mentioned, in the last interview, whether or not, they were going to agree with that, being able to have that many people and needing to have, potentially with that large of a room, if we really do in fact need to have a family restroom and all that kind of stuff, because as you start adding in all of those additional features, if it becomes mandatory with that size of a room, you start talking about more money. So, at the end of the day, we're trying to do this, as fiscally responsible as we possibly can, but also getting what we need. But if there's a cutoff somewhere, that doesn't make us need to have the family restroom, is that something that we need to look at? All of those kinds of things. So again, bringing them in, I really thought after that last meeting, adding in all of these additional things, it was important to make sure that they were on board with doubling the size of the current room and all of that kind of stuff, to hear their opinions.
Yeah. And all the additional comments too that we didn't get to, you're right, that's going to be really helpful. I do have one more question about going back into the community room, just to get a broad sense. We don't have to go into much detail, but I want to hear about what you picture the furniture and technology as being, and we'll have more detailed meetings on all of this, but just so we're doing the overall plan, we can get the sense of how we should be planning it around the furniture.
It would be great if we could have, built-in AV equipment to have appropriate miking and video broadcast of council meetings. That has been an appetite of our community for a long time, and we have struggled with it just because, between spending the money and knowing that we whatever we spend is in an impermanent situation, we just haven't been able to. So having it built into the room would be excellent. Also the ability to display digital content. So if we're talking about spaces being able to project up on a wall or on a monitor, whatever the content is that's being discussed would also be useful / needed, important. And it's also a need for Mayor's Court, I think, right? So I think that's probably already come up.
Yeah, sure has. Yeah, so the furniture being very flexible for those needs.
Yeah.
Multi-purpose. And we plan to incorporate furniture storage, so you're not just placing chairs all the way around the room. So you'll get bodies in there, so that 150 we want to get to. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
And then as far as the furniture goes, yeah, the flexible, movable, storable, I don't see many permanent, big, clunky, yep, this this chair, this couch, this, we build in one of those cool round chair things so we can pretend we're in a hotel lobby. I mean, tables that can be moved and set up, chairs not dissimilar from what we have now, which I don't believe are terribly uncomfortable, and they stack well and you can store them and pull them out when you need them and get rid of them when you don't. Not a lot of permanent fixed furniture, I guess is what I'm saying there. As I said already.
A place to store it would be
Yeah,
beneficial.
absolutely.
Although between you and me, I can, the things that I can live with is a wall of chairs on one side that just sit there and we put a curtain around or something. As far as, that family bathroom I'd want to put in before I put in too much storage for chairs.
All
We
right.
get down to counting off this versus that. But that's just me. I don't mind stuff stacked around.
One of the things we like to do when we kind of list out these spaces is attach a priority to them. So we'll kind of take a stab at that and then get feedback and refine that a little bit as we move forward.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. Does anybody else have anything for them? Leah, I know you're on here. Is there anything that you missed out on saying before that you want to say now? I know she's on here, but if there's anybody that has anything that they want at this point, we're almost 30 minutes. So I was really trying to hope that we could keep this close to 30 minutes so they can get back to designing us a building. Anybody?
I'm good.
All right. Are you good?
I have no mic.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So Leah says she's good. She doesn't have a mic either. Or I don't have a video. She doesn't have a mic. So there you go. Well, if we put a computer together, we'd be all right. So I want to thank both of you guys for doing this. Again, I know that, we kind of went back and forth and, after thinking about it, like I said, I really wanted to get some opinions on that community room from everybody. So I appreciate it. If you guys need anything, you guys know how to get a hold of me, Eric, Leah, all of us. Same thing, as soon as you get me the priority list and all that kind of stuff, I will be submitting all of that stuff to council for them to review. And then, they'll bring me their pros and cons and all that kind of stuff, and we'll be able to get with you. So just anything you need from me, reach out.
Okay, great.
And everybody have a great holiday. I don't think I'm going to see any of you guys between now and then. So if anybody needs me, just reach out.
Tiffany and council members, can you hold on after just for a quick second? Because I had just
Yes.
one or two questions to put to
Absolutely.
you guys.
All right.
Great.
Bye, guys.
You guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
Have a
for
good
your
Thanksgiving.
time. Bye.
I keep waving.
Me too.
I don't have a video.
I hear there are iPads down there. You could have.
They're actually sitting right here too.
I just wanted to take one quick moment to mention, because I know we're running out of time. You had sent in we were having that email chain about maintenance or what have you. And I know I had suggested, can we just put a line item in so that we actually just have some money set aside for maintenance and
Yes.
upkeep of the community thing? And I didn't notice that anyone responded back after I said that, other than, can people weigh in? I'd like people's thoughts before I jam $5,000 into a budget a week before we
just
pass it.
We
Leah,
already do that, don't we?
okay, just really quick. I know Leah doesn't have a mic or anything, so we've actually reached out to Kim to find out whether or not she thinks 3,000 is good, 5,000 is good. If we want to throw 10,000 in there as like a line item type thing, because it would just go in like building maintenance of some sort. And you had said three, and first off, it was and I'm going to say this, and I know we're not live or anything, but I read it and I apparently was not in a good mood or something like that, because I read 2 or 3 of those emails and I got through half of it or something and then responded. So I actually apologized to Diane because I missed part of what she said. So you had said 3 or 5. I kind of said, well, why not just do 10? That way it's not as big of a hit if they don't do the one large item that we did. I'm not in disagreement because, again, I don't have any interest. I don't think I'm going to go start replacing windows when we're getting ready to do a remodel. So you guys, I think you're confident enough to know that I'm not just going to start spending money that is not necessary. And maybe we could even name it like a CARES Act oops fund type thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally fine with it. I was waiting for Kim to respond whether or not that was something that we should do, but I'm not in disagreement. As long as you guys are all okay with it, we'll stick it in the budget. And Tony, do you know what we're talking about?
Are we talking about money for this year's budget?
So no, this is for next year's budget. So we won't go through our audit until like February, March, April. So in the event that the CARES Act, in the event that basically they say you shouldn't have used the money to buy those iPads, even though technology is one of the largest things, then we have to pay that money back, just like the HVAC, just like the carpet that we're getting ready to do, just like the hand sanitizers. So if they basically say you guys bought too much hand sanitizer, we're on the hook for it. So the moral of the story is we were thinking, when Brian and Diane were, thinking ahead, not Brian, sorry, Mark and Diane were thinking ahead of maybe just having a little bit of money set aside in case we get dinged with some of those items or one of those items that CARES Act decides not to pay for. We
And that
have
way we don't
asked
have
our
to go through
attorney
the whole
on everything we've done.
appropriations thing.
Yeah, so I'm fine with it as long as you guys are.
I'm fine with it. I mean, just because you appropriate it doesn't mean we're spending it.
That's my
Right.
point. I'm not in disagreement. So I will verify with Kim that she doesn't have a problem doing it and it doesn't hurt us by doing it, which it's not going to. But I'm totally fine. I am totally fine doing that. So I was waiting to hear from Kim though on that, just so you know, Mark. We were talking about it yesterday.
If we're
And
gonna
then
talk about
I
other
did get the
stuff-
key. Actually, hang on a second. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and stop recording and do all that here. In about 2 seconds, we are done with our discussion for the building and all that good stuff.
Well, are we going on? I like if we could, figure out what's going on with that EMS stuff. Have you
Yeah.
heard anything back from the chief?
Yes,
Hello?
I did. Everything is, I have the keys. I'm going to be working with David and Chevalier, which is our police officer that left and is now becoming a paramedic, to go through the inventory and all that. Unfortunately, I've not been able to, Chief has been busy and has not been able to help with the inventory at all. So we have to go through all of the inventory in order to be able to get rid of the stuff and to start selling it. Myself and Eric are planning on first thing tomorrow. As soon as he gets here, the number one thing we're doing is getting the EMS truck listed on GovDeals, because again, I've not been able to get the information to be able to list the truck, like all of the equipment. And, I'm going through invoices, which are all Chinese to me. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, you're looking at an invoice that basically says 4.3 HTV, like all of these abbreviated things. And because there's all this equipment that goes into an EMS truck. So it's fully equipped, but I don't personally know what all's in it. So we were trying to get some of the, I'm going to call it features and highlights, and I've been unable to obtain that from the chief to be able to get it listed. So Eric and I are going to go through it tomorrow with some help from some people and see if we can get it listed on GovDeals. So to answer your question, yes, I got the keys to be able to do inventory, but unfortunately I have not been able to get any additional assistance of inventory, what's ours, what's not ours, from anybody.
What have you, was there some talk about tanks being Columbus's tanks? Air.
So yeah,
tanks?
there are leased, I'm going to call them propane tank. I don't know if there's some kind of tanks. Maybe they're oxygen tanks, not propane tanks,
Probably,
oxygen
yeah,
tanks, maybe.
Maybe helium?
If you guys are laughing at me, I'm going to yell at all of you. There's some kind of tanks. There's like 6 or 8 or 10 of them. I don't know if they've been picked up yet, but again, there are leased items down there. And the last thing that I want to do is go sell something that's currently leased. We get billed for some of that stuff once a year. So it's a matter of trying to go through what we were billed for last year in, maybe November, December, January. And as you guys are aware, all of that stuff is messed up from last year in November, December, January. So who knows if we even paid the bill from last year. So I just don't want to get rid of something that we weren't supposed to. And I've not been able to get the information accurately that I wish that we had. But it is what it is. So I feel comfortable with the people that are coming in and helping. At least we'll be able to go through the inventory. Jesse wants a full list of the inventory. He thinks that that's very smart. But we know that there's life packs in there that are worth $10,000 to $15,000 potentially. We know that there's several items of some pretty good value in there that need to be sold. And then we also know that there's plenty of stuff that really just need to be donated. So we also want to make sure that we're not donating or doing anything with things that were purchased from CARES Act money, turning around and get, so we're trying to dot our I's and cross our T's. And that's a little difficult to do when you don't have, when you're not able to get the support that from the people that know all about it.
You don't have the expertise readily available.
Yes. So, again, we just want to do the right thing. We want to do the right thing, and we will do that before we get rid of anything. And as of right now, that's priority. We want to, I have a really big goal of trying to have all of this done before the end of December for financial purposes. It would have been nice to have it all closed out by the end of December. That way next year going into it, we wouldn't have everything still going on. So I don't think that's going to happen at this point. But we can still hope.
That's all I got.
Awesome. I did, just for the record, I did not record the first 2 minutes. It was really Tony just talking. Tony is the one that started the recording, and I forgot to push record like I usually do. So that is completely my fault, but it was Tony just talking about the media or the community room. So I'm just saying that for the record, because you're literally going to see Tony talking right when I put it in there. So that was the only thing anybody missed. So it was important, but I did miss the first 2 or 3 minutes of Tony talking about the community room.
Way more than enough Tony talking on these recordings.
Some people will be happy they missed that part. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I think we recanvassed a lot of that early stuff by the end as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I really do appreciate it. I mean, I was hoping that a couple other people that were really, that a couple other council people would have been able to make it, but I know it was really last minute. I know it's not their fault. So hopefully once we get the list of priorities and everything, we can kind of get a census of what everybody likes and what they don't like. And, my goal is to get it done right the first or second time. So,
I'm glad I
that's
was
pretty
able
much
to get that,
what I have.
my thoughts expressed, so I'm stoked.
So this doesn't have anything to do with this, but I have reached back out to Ironworks to get the step railing. I have not heard back from them. I'm gonna reach out to them again today and give them till Monday. If not, if anybody has a recommendation of somebody like Ironworks for the hand railing, we are getting $1,000 grant from our PEP. Our insurance company is giving us $1,000 grant for any safety, anything additional, any safety thing that we do. So we thought this would be a great way to spend $1,000. So we have that coming, but as of right now, it's just very difficult to deal with some of these smaller companies right now. And with COVID, it has been, I get it. I completely understand. So whether or not somebody's quarantined or not, so I haven't even been able to get a response back from them. And that was not the case 2 weeks ago. So hopefully they reach out to me, but if you guys have a recommendation, if I don't hear from them, I'll let you guys know.
I'll start asking some of my friends about.
Yeah.
Because
So,
Ford and Ironworks is like top of the line
yes.
company.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to tell you, it's still going to cost us money. I was under the impression it was going to cost 12 to 1,500.
Anything cheap.
Yeah. So, but having $1,000 towards it really did help. So, but no, there's not been really much else going on. I have Brian decorating at the community building. He's doing the lights out right now. I have AEP coming out December 7th. I really tried to get him out before then, just to give me some information about getting some additional metered plug type things put in and what we need to do to make that happen. So, because I really want lights over there. So right now I'm thinking about, if you're laughing at me, Mark, I'm going to be mad at you. So
No,
I'm thinking about solar at this
I've
point.
stopped listening. I'm reading students' papers.
Oh, good. Hey, maybe you should read those to us. If you're laughing, that might make our day.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see
So-
you later.
So yeah, if you guys, do you guys, anybody have anything else?
No.
Brian, you good?
I'm good.
Again, I appreciate you guys coming. If you guys need anything, let me know. But other than that, you guys have a happy Thanksgiving and stay safe.
You too.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.